boxes because I know people look to do things for Christmas presents and all. So I brought a couple of things that if you ever want to do something, I've done, you know. If you've got kids or grandkids that have a iPad, this is to hold an iPad. So it's a simple thing, you know, you just make something like this. In my case, I will make something, square this off, you know, get a piece so that I can run it through the saw and run this at a 40-degree, approximately a 40-degree angle. That'll hold an iPad. Kids love it.
Use a dado or a router?
I use the dado on the saw. Just lift it up, you know, get a 40-degree, make sure you don't cut all the way through.
Did you put a block under one end?
Yeah, I normally keep it square, but I will make a piece here that will fit these to run it through. And you can lift it up, you know, the full length and go at it. So, I also brought a couple of these. This is to hold candles for somebody if you want to. I mean, it's a simple project. Just you know, it's just a little thing on there. If you want to make a napkin holder. So those are just some things that I brought. Say, you know, if anybody wants something to think about, it is. So the rest of this is all bandsaw boxes, and there's some things that are more difficult than others, and
What's more difficult?
well, as you get with these are a little more difficult because they're a little more intricate, but and they're not something that I really like, but so I've done one or two, but that's not where, they're not really hard. So I've got kind of here, this is what I would start off with if I wanted to make a box and I want something in the middle of it. I've got two pieces that are the same, which I've then cut in half. I get another piece that I'm putting in, and I mark it on here so that I can glue it down, and I can generally get to the same spot.
It's your magic grid.
Yeah, this is how it works. So the first thing to do on a bandsaw box is you cut off a top, and you cut off a bottom. It's a, you know, and that becomes a lid and a bottom. And the next thing you do is you come in with the grain and make your thing, and it comes out. So that's kind of the next step. The next step is to glue it together. So you can see there where it's glued. If you take a look there, both of these are the same.
I'm sorry, to make the inside cut out on the second. Yeah, you actually cut the side of the box.
Yeah, I'll do one as soon as we get there.
Okay.
And then the next is you got to glue down, you know, the top and the bottom. So I cut off a piece off of here, glue it onto the top, so that'll be it'll hold it in place. And I do it before I've glued on this so that I can get down there and I can actually mark it where it's going to go.
So all your pieces are indexed.
Yeah. Yes. And then I also, since the bandsaw does cut more than this, it makes a jiggly box top, so I add little pieces just on the inside here to make it hold it tight. And once you put the finish on it, you hardly will notice it's there. So that's that. This is one that is in essence finished, and I've done it so that it's a swinging one, and actually it lifts off. But and these are some finished boxes, and these are pieces that I'm ready to do, where I've added things together to make a box, one on an angle there. So let me, if you look at this, this box was done using this machine and one of the new blades over there. And I don't like the blade. You can see how rough this is. So I'm going to change blades. I have my own blade.
What is your own blade?
Mine's, it comes from Timberwolf.
Okay.
And this is a 3/16, excuse me, 5/16 it is, I think.
22 per inch?
6, 4 to 6. This one's a 4.
Is it a hook or a alternate bevel?
It's this is
Or alternate set?
this is an alternate set.
Alternate set.
Which means you're getting a little fatter cut.
Correct. Your,
Just a little.
every other tube is either left or right.
So this is to change the blade. Obviously, you got to open her up.
Notice you didn't have to pull all that set.
It's a little different from our old one.
That's a nice one. That's a lot easier.
On the back here is a quick release, red handle, and if that's it for the release. Pull out those. That's all there is to pulling it off. And you know, this is loose enough that you can take it off. So just comes out.
Originally also has instructions as a video of this on their website.
Yeah.
So,
So everybody knows to do this to take it down. Don't ruin your fingers that way or hands.
Or is that going to be easier?
I never changed the band,
No,
but
not
I just
exactly.
whatever's there, you use it because it's too much trouble to change it.
Yeah, no, yeah, they're okay to change, and that just, you can see that over time the manufacturers have addressed the issues,
Yeah.
especially in a community shop like this.
Our customer service people got tired of answering the phone.
Maybe so.
Learn about the questions.
Yeah.
So David, what are you doing now? You're doing some finessing here, and you're not talking, so let
Well-
us know.
I am putting them into the in between here so that it does, so that it will grab. Now there are two main adjustments. You don't want the teeth to be hit by the round piece here, so that
By the
you've got
bearing?
by the bearing,
And those are called guide bearings.
and so this has to be
All right, and David?
Yeah.
Why don't you want the guide bearings to hit the teeth?
to damage the teeth,
No,
and it,
you lose your set. The set allows clearance on the sides of the blade. I mean, it does damage the teeth too, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say no, you're wrong, but the point of it is that once you lose your set on a blade, you've ruined the blade.
yeah. And so if that's on the top, so that's just moving it in and out. And
Do you
it's
wanna
the same on the bottom down here.
Is it
So you're centering or you're setting the blade inside the guide bearings.
Yes.
should it be tension
And
first?
you stay behind, the guide bearing does not come out beyond the gullet, which is the hole or the opening behind the tooth. It comes back to the blade body. And now he's turning it by hand.
So
See what
this
he's
one
got
is-
there. There's two ways to watch, to observe what's going on there. One is visually, and the other is you can hear it. If those guide bearings are hitting the set, you'll hear it.
Tick, 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 tick.
Yeah, just a little tick tick. It's very minute when you're turning it over by hand, but when you turn it on, and you don't have the clearance set properly.
So there's
you'll
a-
hear it for about 3 or 4 revolutions.
I was gonna say, the noise will go away.
It smooths out. So the bearings effectively become a press and smooth everything out.
So there's a set of bearings on the bottom.
Yeah, it's just,
So this is small blade.
yeah, this is small
And
blade
just
so that
worked
you can
on
make,
the- Additionally, there's not a lot of material behind the tooth.
No, very little.
So he said, what'd you say, a 5/16?
Yeah.
Okay, so 5/16, in reality, you have 1/8 of an inch of metal there behind the tooth set? Behind the gullet?
Just about an eighth of an inch. Makes it so that you can turn.
Tight corners.
So let's just do some numbers here, if I may, okay? So we've got 5/16 total. We have 1/8 of an inch of body. That means the tooth is taking up 3/16 of an inch. Okay, so the tooth actually takes up more space than the body in these smaller blades. So you have to pay attention to that. Okay, sorry to interrupt.
That's okay.
I wanted to know what's going on.
The other thing that I need to do is I need to take this off because I want to drop this down. So this is a release here. You take this off.
Did we buy that, is it extra, or did that?
No, that came with it.
Come with it?
Now,
That's nice.
this, if you want to use this, you have to take off this as well. So it has to be over this cut here to be able to take it off.
Stu, would you turn the light on?
So that takes that off, it's simple there. And now, you know, you can move this to wherever you want. It's a low one. You want to drop this down, level there. So you can get close to where you're.
And all of these settings you're doing, I can't quite see, but it's all by hand?
All
All
by
adjustments that are
Not wrenching anything.
either
No,
Right.
knobs
Fingers.
or,
all knobs at all.
With finger strength,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
yeah, you really should not put a wrench on this machine.
And then also, this fence will also attach
That way.
this way, so if you want a really short fence, this can go in either orientation, like this, or like this.
And the objective of the fence is to be a guide for the wood, not to touch the blade,
So,
just in case.
Take off the other side of that set.
so here's just a plain block, you know, nothing on it. I like to take off about 1/4 of an inch from making my top and bottom. So I'll bring this over so that I'm on the outside in this case. I could do it on the inside, but
Is this a brand new blade?
this is a brand new blade. I think I'll change that to the one side.
Note to the person buying our blades, really, in order to do what Dave is doing, which I recommend for a project, is you should put a brand new blade on. If you're setting up the saw to do a specific task, then you should put a new blade on. So to whoever purchases the blades, we need more blades.
How much are blades?
$25.
They're expensive. But we want a nice project, right? We want a quality project, we have the money. So just be diligent and smart and don't ruin the set. Now, David, may I ask a question here? Have you turned that over really well, 100%?
Yes.
All right. I guess the other thing I should say is, and I've checked this before, the same length blade, so there's not any real issue. But I want to stop a second before I touch it. You can check, you know, how tight this blade is by just moving it. If it moves just a little bit and it becomes tight on your finger, you know that you've got it the right setting. If you have to, you can adjust it here, but this is really set up for this length blade, so there shouldn't be any issues. So remember that what he's saying here is there's another adjustment that needs to be done on this saw before you start cutting. If you get into these really thin blades, you only got 1/8 of an inch of metal there by the thickness of the actual blade, you put a lot of tension on it, it's going to break up. If you force it or you try to go too fast or anything like that, you're gonna break it. So make sure you adjust tension.
You're good.
you take a look at the finish of the cut here and the cut here, you'll see a major difference. This is a brand new blade of the one that's in here. And so that's the difference in the quality of the blade that you get.
So this cut, the rough cut that you're in reference to is probably bought locally and you're ordering online?
I bought mine online. This one you buy online too.
And how much does the bad cut cost?
It costs about $15 to $20, and this one costs about $25 to $30.
Okay, so you see the difference? The quality is more expensive, but it is of value.
It's
There's
worth
less
it.
effort.
So anyway, I normally, and I should, mark this so that I know which one's top and which one's bottom. You know, so I don't have a pencil right here, so I'm going to do it. But I can figure it out. I would like this a little bigger. I decided this for the top. So this is the top cut off, and this is Sapelli wood, and it's hard wood, but it goes through very easily. There's no rust, no rust.
Brought up a point, and I see he's right. When you push on that blade, it pushes the blade back,
Yeah.
and it gets that set on the blade closer to those bearings.
It goes right through the bearing.
So, I mean,
Here's how you tell, Mike.
real close, huh?
Here's how you tell. You can hear the oscillation going on, where all of a sudden it made a higher pitched squeal. That's when you're pushing the blade back and maybe your feet is a little too fast.
Not sure.
So it's another clue to how the machine is performing for you if you listen to it as well. I'm not saying he knows that blade, he knows what he's done, he's obviously done it a lot, so it never really got stressed, but I watch people use that and they get into their old habits, you know, they think, 3 horsepower, zip,
All right.
2 horsepower, zip, no.
And if you get into a slightly duller blade,
Yeah.
you're going to push harder too.
Correct.
And based on that, it might be worth it to even move those bearings back just a hair more when you're setting them.
Yeah, I didn't want to see the bearing go beyond the bottom of the gullet.
Right. Yeah, and I think that the bottom of the gullet is about where that is right now, but I think it probably moves in.
And that's what's touching the back,
Yeah, it's
the support bearing.
right.
These two are the guide bearings.
Right.
This back bearing is the support bearing. In other words, when you press, you're pushing the blade into that support bearing.
So you're saying you should have just a little
David, you prep your bandsaw blades
No.
with a stone?
I would put these bearings.
So the next thing is to cut out the inside, and you know, it's just taking a pencil and running along the edge to get where you want it to be able to see what you're doing. And so I have that, and I'm not going to cut that at that angle because I don't want to kind of a 90 degree, I want to be able to sand on the inside, and so I'm going to be using these. So I take the bigger one and I say, okay, that is where I want my corner to be. And so I know that I can then sand that on the machine in there and I'll be able to get to it, and I can make that kind of a turn. So that's my little
It's a good one.
Yes, it is.
extra. So again, you want to come in with the grain, and the reason you want to come in with the grain is when you glue it up, you won't see where you cut it. So there's my cut right there, and you don't really see it on the top or the bottom as a result.
material that's being taken out, cut through the wall, you're just gonna close that up? And you're just gonna,
All I do is take a clamp,
yeah,
put the clamp like that.
so it's a
And-
fraction smaller, if you will, on
Yeah.
that end than the other end?
You can see how this is. I mean, it's,
Yeah.
you can see about how much that blade took out. And I take a piece of sandpaper and put it in between there and pull it across a couple of times. And that gives me a thing and close enough, and when I sign it up, then. So, at this point, you don't need any extra here.
You need to lower it.
10, I'll lower it just for that.
David, a question. I notice you're not using a feather board. Is it easier not to use a feather board?
You know, I'm happy with my hands with this stuff.
I
And
think, Tony, you're gonna find that this, because of the newness of the tool, you might not need it, whereas before you needed it because the tool was not as accurate. I think, you know, David, probably his bandsaw back in his garage or at the back where the guys catches would be a lot more accurate. And I think that's one of the things you'll like about this tool.
yeah, this is good. This has been a good machine. So again, you know, just come in with the, and then come to your line. And this is a time to say, you know, you don't have to be fast.